Welcome to the Notary News channel. My name is Desiree Roman Rodriguez, and I'm a subject matter expert in all things notary in the state of Illinois. I'm also an enrolled agent credentialed by the IRS to prepare taxes and represent taxpayers before the IRS. This week, we're going to be focusing on one of the most fundamental duties of a notary or an employer who hires employees, and that is identification. And one of the basic things that a notary is required to do is verify the identity of someone that appears before them. And what we're going to talk about today is going to be some of the tools that you can use to verify that the ID that's presented before you is authentic. Unfortunately, in this business, there are unscrupulous people who try to use notaries to commit fraud. And we as notaries have to make sure that we are aware and that we are not used in these types of scenarios. The best way to protect yourself is to educate yourself. So if you're in your own state, you have your state ID, you have your driver's license, you're fully aware of what your own state ID or driver's license looks like. And I have been in situations where I have been presented an identification in my own state, from my own state, that was not a valid identification. One of the things I get asked a lot about from notaries when I do my notary trainings is what happens when someone presents you with a false ID. We have to make sure that we're not going to put ourselves in a situation that will put us in danger. And if you confront someone that has presented you with a false ID, it's very possible that person can get angry and irritable and may even want to resort to physical confrontation with you. What I always suggest to the people that I'm training is that if someone presents you with an identification that you can obviously tell is not authentic, you look them straight in the eye, hand the identification back to them, and firmly say, "I'm sorry, but I cannot use this identification. Do you have something else?" And that way, you aren't putting yourself in a position to say, "Hey, this is a fake ID. I'm going to confiscate this and turn it into the police." That is not your job to do. So you just want to be very firm when you make your statement, hand back the identification to them to let them know through eye contact and the tone in your voice that you are aware that that ID is not a valid ID and that they're going to have to present you with something else. So if they say they don't have any other identification, then you'll have to conclude your appointment and say, "Okay, well, I can't use this identification and I'll have to reschedule your appointment." Now, if they try to act like it's an authentic ID and it's, for real, and there's something wrong with you, you have to make sure that you have something to back yourself up. One of the tools that I use for authenticating identification is this wonderful book here called the ID Checking Guide. Now, obviously, this ID Checking Guide is from 2018, and there is a 2021 that's come out, so probably I'll need to update this checking ID. But this guide is a resource and shows identification from all across the U.S. So you are able to authenticate identification that someone presents to you, even if it's not in your own state. So this is a very handy tool, and also it will also quiet down someone that tries to insist that their identification is authentic. You would just take this book out, match it into the photo that's there, and say, "I'm sorry, but this doesn't match the ID that's indicated in this booklet and I cannot use it." And that should be the end of that. Now, what if someone presents you identification that is not in this book? For example, a passport. There are many fake passports, and how do you authenticate whether or not you are have a passport that's valid? Well, one way to be able to authenticate the passport is if you have a UV black light pen, and you can shine it onto the passport. You'll be able to see the holograms that are on there, and then you'll know whether or not it's authentic. But you have to be very cautious of that because there are very good fake copies. And the reason I know there are very good fake copies is because I took a certified forensic training program, and I'm actually a certified acceptance agent for the IRS, meaning people that need to renew their ITIN numbers, they have to submit a W-7 application. And typically with that document, they have to mail in their original identity documents. Well, if they come to a person like myself, certified acceptance agents, we are able to authenticate their documents and their identification documents as authentic. And then we fill out a form that gets submitted with the W-7 application. And that way they do not have to submit their original documents. So in this forensic training, you are taught what are the different ways to spot a fake identification, and it would definitely be a good class to take if you are in a position that you are accepting ID that's not usually a state ID. So if it's common that someone presents a passport or an ID from another state, then that is definitely a course you would want to take. Now, are there ways to authenticate whether or not a passport is authentic? Well, you can verify some numbers on some websites. For example, on Mexico's website, you can identify the CURP number, and that would authenticate whether or not that passport is valid. There is no way to that I'm aware of to enter in a passport number and find out if that number is valid. You can always call an embassy if let's say you had a passport that was issued here in the US at one of the country's embassies here in the US. You can always call that embassy and ask them to verify whether or not they issued that particular passport. Although with COVID-19, it's been very difficult to reach someone at an embassy because no one's there to answer the phones. But in any case, if you want to be able to authenticate documents yourself, then having a portable UV blacklight is going to be one of the best ways to authenticate and verify holograms and other indicators that a document is authentic. There's also a website called Identity Check. I believe it's Identity Check IO. And I'll put the information in the comments section below. And that website, you do have to pay to authenticate the document you want to verify. And you would enter in a copy of the ID, and then it authenticates whether or not the MRZ information is correct and whether or not it's a valid MRZ information. So that's another way to be able to authenticate documents if you are unsure if a document someone is presenting to you is not real. So if you have any questions about identifying or verifying whether a document is authentic or whether identification is authentic, then post a comment below. Let me know what your questions are. I'll try to answer them. Also, I want to just touch really quickly on an I-9 verification form. I do get a lot of notaries who ask whether or not that is a document that they are supposed to notarize, and the I-9 form does not get notarized. It only gets witnessed. There is no place on there to put a notary stamp. There's no notary language on there at all. However, you are able to notarize that document, but there's a specific way that you have to do it. At least here in the state of Illinois, there's a specific way that you have to do it. It's one of the things that I do teach in my notary training class. But just for general information, I-9 forms are not documents that get notarized by a notary. It can be witnessed by a notary, but it does not get notarized. So that's going to be all what I have for this week. I did get some comments for more tax information, so we will be putting together some more notary and tax videos in the upcoming weeks. Until then, have a great week. Thank you for watching. Make sure to subscribe and have a great day.